Cloudflare's page rules feature. Let's talk about this a little bit and talk about how to maximize the page rules, your page rules options, as well as give some pro tips here. So page rules enables you to turn certain things that Cloudflare does on, or certain things that Cloudflare does off on sections of your website, subsections of your website, as well as all the way down to the individual URL level. So you can get really granular with your application of all of the things that Cloudflare can do for you. For example, if you were to want to, as I do recommend you do, cache aggressively, however, that's going to cause you problems in your WordPress admin. So you will want to create a page rule, a custom caching page rule, to bypass the cache for WordPress admin. And this asterisk here makes it a wild card. By using the asterisk character, you can create powerful dynamic patterns that can match a series of URLs rather than just one. So what we're doing here is any page within WordPress admin that you are in, by adding this asterisk, we'll bypass the cache, because that's the custom caching rule we have set up here. We'll bypass the cache, thereby bypassing any problems that aggressive caching would otherwise cause. And everything else you can leave as default. Another thing you're going to want to bypass, or another instance in which you're going to want to bypass Cloudflare's cache, is for the WordPress login page. And again, in the drop-down menu there for custom caching, you'll bypass the cache. Our general cache setting is aggressive. We want to bypass that entirely to bypass problems. Another thing that I hinted at in the previous lecture was how you folks on shared hosting can ultimately make your website as fast as a website that is on a VPS, a virtual private server, and even a dedicated server. Well, as you'll notice in the file extensions that Cloudflare caches automatically, you don't see HTML in here. So it does not automatically cache HTML, which means that when somebody accesses your site, let's again use the example of the user in Shanghai, clicks on a link that goes to your website. Yes, Cloudflare will serve all of these resources from its cache to that user from that POP, from that server location in Hong Kong. However, the HTML is still coming from your server. So you get really bad metrics there, especially things like time to first byte and time to above the fold rendering of content. All of those key metrics to rendering that critical rendering path get negatively affected by that user far away from your origin server, having to wait for that server to be served HTML. So there is a way, and this is a solution not just for those on shared servers, but it's something that is advantageous even for those of you on a VPS or dedicated server, but it's particularly advantageous for those people who are on, those unfortunate souls that are on shared servers. And what it is a directive here in page rules called the Cache Everything Directive, and it is custom caching here. And then from the drop-down menu, here's what we're doing by default on the globally. We're caching aggressively. The previous examples I showed you for WordPress admin, as well as the WordPress login page, we're bypassing the cache. But here, we're going to choose to cache everything. So everything on the entirety of your website, and then we're going to wildcard that with the asterisk. We're going to use the Cache Everything directive. And in so doing, we are allowing Cloudflare to not only cache all of these things, but also HTML. which means that even your HTML will be cached and served from the edge. Now, for your edge cache expiry, time to leave, TTL, you want to respect all existing headers. Your browser cache expire, TTL. Remember when we were setting up browser cache in W3 Total Cache, the example that was given for for how long to set that was 3,600 seconds, which equals 1 hour. So whatever you ended up putting in for your browser cache, TTL, you will want to match that here when implementing the cache everything directive. So if you'll remember, we used 1 hour, 3,600 seconds in our example in that lecture. So we want to match that here with everything else being how we set that up by however we defaulted all of the rest of this. So let's do a specific example of how to set this up from scratch. We'll go into the Add New Rule section, and let's take a look at this here. Enter the pattern you want to match, basically the URL, and whether or not you're going to choose to use the wildcard or the asterisk to match everything past that /. Enter the pattern you want to match and choose the rules you want to apply. And changes can take up to 60 seconds to go into effect. So let's say, for example, we wanted to, for just the home page, let's say that we wanted to enable Rocket Loader. Now, by default, we have that off. You'll remember. You may have it on. You may not. You may have it on. You may not have it on. Or you may find that certain pages of your website break with Rocket Loader on, if you in fact have that on by default. So if you in fact have that on by default, but there is one particular page, let's say only the home page, that was being broken by Rocket Loader, but you have it on by default, you can turn it off for this one particular page, which enables, in that fashion anyway, enables you to finely tune Rocket Loader. You can't tune it all the way down at the individual script level, but you can turn it off by page. So without having to learn or know how to code in the particular script tags attributes that you would have to add to your scripts to get Rocket Loader to ignore them. Or, for example, let's say that for your login page, for your WordPress login page, you wanted to, and only this page, you wanted to alter because you're constantly getting a malicious attack on that page, you can change your security level here from default. Remember in the example we had it on medium. But you could raise that to high. And there is an I'm under attack option that Cloudflare recommends for you to use only in the event of DDoS. My recommendation would be to also only use high in the, either skip high or use medium. I'm under attack is definitely for when you know you're under a DDoS attack. And high is just, it's kind of too high. And as for another example, let's say that for your blog, you want to change or alter or override the browser cache expiry TTL that we have set above, or in our example in the browser cache setting that we established and configured there in W3 Total Cache. Let's say we had it for an hour, generally in W3 Total Cache, but we want to cache longer or shorter, whatever the case may be, for our blog index. If that changes a lot, maybe we can override that for that particular page and take it down to 30 minutes and then add the rule. So there you go. There's some particulars with respect to with respect to page rules. And a very easy, those of you, I should know, those of you on the free plan, I think you get 3 of these page rules. So things are going to be really pretty tight for you. You definitely want to, if you're going to cache aggressively, you definitely want to bypass the cache for WordPress admin and bypass the cache for WordPress login page, which then leaves you with 1 page rule for you folks on the free plan. I would use that page rule to go ahead and make, especially if you're on shared hosting, to go ahead and make use of the cache everything directive. And that way even your HTML is being cached by Cloudflare rather, and served at the edge. So there you go. There's page rules for you. Please do make sure again that you're taking the quiz and all of the quizzes at the end of the sections, and do make sure that you're checking out the addendums to all of the sections, including this one. Lecture 54 is actually a PDF lecture for you, particularly rambunctious sorts that want to at least experiment with some relatively easy, it's still pretty advanced, but some relatively easy server optimization. So we're approaching the end here, folks. I'm very proud of you. I'm very proud of the effort that you've put in, and I'll see you in the next and very final video lecture, Lecture 55.